Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code ONEFREEPP for a free single card today.
Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer for Breeders' Cup Prep Recap, taking a look back at the Summer Stakes. This is part of the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series. A win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Let's break from the gate over the E.P. Taylor Turf Course, going a one-turn mile. And in the Grade 1 Summer, it was all about the Europeans, at least on the tote board. Al Qudra, the number 9, New Century, the number 10. They were very familiar with each other overseas.
Yeah, they'd run against each other a couple of times over in Europe. They shipped over here. They took a lot of money, and they're gonna both run really well in here. Neither one of them got out of the gate very well, but they had the advantage of a pretty solid pace going on in front of them.
Yeah, that's sort of the MO for these European horses. A lot of times they just don't break quickly in their first or second starts here in North America. And I wonder if it worked against Al Qudra a little bit more because she likes to be forwardly placed, or at least she showed that in her races overseas.
Yeah, just, another one of those, you're used to seeing these Europeans, knock it out of the gate well when they ship over here. And neither one of these horses did. You're right. Al Qudra is a horse who he had been forward in his races over there. I still don't feel like you're going to, come up with a real excuse for him here. We'll get to the stretch run in a minute, Dan, but this pace is very solid for these two horses. They're both going to move up here as this field turns into the stretch. They've got dead aim. They both run, and they're going to complete this exact. There's a little trouble in the stretch, though.
The first one to make a case is Dream On, who was sitting in the pocket. The rail opened up, and she goes for home early. And it looks like Dream On is going to do it again for Mark Casse, who ruled the day. She opened up a little bit on the turn, but A, maybe the class of these Europeans were too much, and B, she might have moved just a little bit too soon into that fast pace because she is getting very tired and drifting out.
He had shown this in his prior start. They sprinted him in the Soaring Free Stakes race in his prior start. He just got tired at the end of that race. They went to his wrong lead and got outfinished. Same thing here. Went to his wrong lead, drifted very badly, interfered with Al Qudra more than once in this race in between horses, and just got tired at the end and was outfinished by two pretty good Europeans.
It looked like Al Qudra, as he was beginning his rally, was sort of in tight several times. I'm not sure it made the difference in the overall finish because New Century was really flying in the clear on the outside. Your opinion?
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It is. Listen, it would be worth it for everybody to go back and pull the head-on replay of this stretch run and just sort of make your own decision. Ultimately, I sort of felt like maybe Al Qudra wasn't going to win anyway, but it's very clear, Dan, when you watch the head-on of this. He is bothered more than once by the horse on the lead drifting out into him, and then by New Century. They sort of bounce off each other a couple of times. I mean, there's a real case to be made that Al Qudra was the one who took the worst of it here, and maybe he was best.
First Resort finished 4th in this spot, shipping down from Saratoga. Broke pretty well. They took him in hand. He was able to ride it back from off of the pace, and he came with a decent run. I think this was a little bit of an underrated performance.
Yeah, I did too. He's a horse too. I don't know if he had traffic and lost position, or if he was just outpaced a little bit because his pace was solid. But I think he wound up a little bit further back than I expected him to be early in this race, Dan. And he did run on. I mean, now this isn't the kind of race, I don't think, where you want to give horses too much credit for rallying late, because this pace was solid.
Let's talk a little bit about Cairo Caper. This horse gave up a lot of ground. He was wide through the turn and into the stretch. I wish he kicked on a little bit better.
I do too. I all in all, I thought this horse had a pretty decent trip in here, Dan. And he's another horse who was stretching out for the first time. He did have a little bit of a foundation with 3 starts already, and he was 2 for 2 on turf heading into this thing. I do kind of feel like I wonder if the distance got to him a little bit, though, because I feel like I wanted to see him kick a little bit harder in the stretch.
I think a lot of the folks are going to watch Dream On's race the first time and say, well, he had a really good trip. He sat the pocket. The rail opened up. He shot on through. He has a clear lead. He's supposed to win that race. But considering the pace was so fast and that the other pace horses are nowhere at the end, I think you can say, A, Dream On ran very well, and B, you can follow him even at a one-turn mile next time.
Yeah, I won't argue too hard with that, but I will just, reiterate again. I feel like this he did the same thing going shorter in his prior race, right? He just doesn't finish his races off the way that I want to see a horse finish them off. Now, maybe he had the same excuse in the Soaring Free 2 starts back now, where he just maybe went a little too soon and then got tired at the end, and you could make that argument here, but I'm not totally convinced by this horse.
Any other trips you saw that make you want to play these horses back, or did we touch upon everybody?
No, I feel like this race was mostly about the 1-2 finishers, and here I just feel like even with the good setup, I feel like they kind of towered over these horses, and that's how it played out on the track.
Let's take a closer look at New Century, bred in Great Britain, trained by Andrew Balding. This horse has now won 3 of 5 starts, was beaten twice by Al Qudra, the career debut over the all-weather at Lingfield, and then 3 starts back in the Pat Ettery Stakes. But New Century bounced out of the Pat Ettery, won a stakes race going a mile at Salisbury, and got it done here with a very respectable Beyer speed figure, perhaps somewhat pace-aided, of a 93. This horse has a strong European turf pedigree, a half-brother to a Group 3 winner on the turf, and both the second and third dams were Grade 3 stakes winners going longer on the grass. So I think New Century will actually do okay with even a little bit more distance down the road, and it'll be interesting to see if they try some perhaps more talented European horses that will ship in for the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I agree with that. This horse, he ran really well here. Again, I think it's worth going back to that Pat Ettery that you mentioned, Dan, where Al Qudra beat him on the turf, because that was a totally paceless race. Al Qudra was sort of controlling things up front, and all New Century could do was try to make a move at him midway through the lane there, and he got sort of turned away. But I don't think it's that hard to argue. This horse could be on a 4-race winning streak right now.
The Europeans usually show up loaded for bear at Woodbine on Woodbine Mile Saturday. They didn't take home the main event, and they disappointed a little bit in the Natalma. But here are the prices for the summer. They run 1-2. A New Century, $8.10. Al Qudra runs second. Dream On finishes third for Mark Cassidy, who just had a sensational Woodbine Mile Saturday. Perhaps we'll see New Century at Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf.